Okay, so before we convene, let's take a few moments of silence and be in meditation and prayer for our students, our faculty members, administration, our parents especially, and our country. So you're invited to join me. Thank you. And the meeting is convened, and the board this month is meeting under the provisions of the Executive Order number 16 of the Governor of Tennessee. An electronic meeting is necessary to protect the public health, safety, and welfare in light of COVID-19. Public access to this meeting is limited. No physical location exists. Each member participating electronically should be identified, and all votes will be by roll call. Everyone should be able to hear each other simultaneously and speak during the meeting. So before we say our pledge, let me just go around and make sure we have good audio connections with all board members. If you'll just identify yourself, please, Ms. Bell.
Yes, hi.
Mr. Blair.
Robert Blair here.
Ms. Newman.
Robin Newman here.
Mr. Townsend.
Oh, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Gotcha. And Dr. Barker.
Alicia Barker here.
Excellent. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you all very much. Reports, presentations, and discussions. Teaching and learning.
Yes, thank you so much. I cannot believe it, but this is my final board packet. And with the creation of this packet comes much reflection and gratitude. I am most grateful to you all for supporting teaching and learning over the past 8 years as we have moved the FSSD forward together. Moving forward during changing times seemed a bit daunting on occasion, but with the amazing leadership of Dr. Snowden, the partnership with the teaching and learning team, as well as the district leadership team, it always seemed to go smoother than anticipated. It's important for me to note your unending support was a major part of the many successful endeavors we experienced. FSSD is my extended family. I have built strong, lasting relationships here, and I'm thankful that these relationships will not end, but take on a new dynamic. Being the Associate Director of Schools for Teaching and Learning in FSSD has been a dream for me and an incredible place to learn and grow. I'm thankful for these 8 years and know the varied experiences within them have enabled me to be ready for this next step as superintendent in Tullahoma City Schools. Now, with that said, I'd like to lift up for you a few items that TNL has been engaged with during the COVID-19 extended closure. I am truly proud of the work accomplished throughout this incredibly unique time. Here's a few items that I'd like to lift up. We created a way for students and parents to access instructional packets through Clever, the online password-protected portal that houses instructional resources for students to access. We evaluated video conferencing options and determined Zoom was the best one to meet our needs and created best practices for use. For example, we enabled a waiting room so that the host, the teacher, could let folks in at the prescribed time. Student names are no longer visible with their pictures, and if by chance something sneaks through, teachers now have the ability to fix that and rename. Teachers can mute individuals or groups all in one click. The chat feature has been turned off in Zoom. We have disabled screen sharing. If needed, teachers can remove individuals from a Zoom meeting Teachers can lock meetings so that no one else can enter. By the way, this is another feature that we have placed through Clever, that password protected portal. We activated 5.8 student email to provide a tool for students to reach their teachers individually and enter into conversations around work or social emotional topics, etc. This email is restricted in a way that only allows students to email their FSSD teachers. They cannot email outside of the FSSD domain, nor can they email their friends or other students within it. It's just for that teacher-student interactions. Parents were able to opt out of this should they determine that they did not want their students to have their email activated. And because I know you're going to want to know this, you're going to ask me how many parents opted out. And the answer is 0. We also created user guides for families and teachers about Clever login, Zoom, student email, etc. We supported teachers with various, and continue to support teachers with various instructional programs, whether it's iReady, Imagine Learning, Achieve 3000, Discovery Education, and on and on. We help teachers navigate Google Classroom, an online learning platform where teachers can create assignments, provide feedback to students, and a place for students to actually submit work. We completed the textbook adoption process with the district committee, provided an array of digital professional learning opportunities for paraprofessionals and teachers, and we collaborated with community agencies for their help and support with securing hand sanitizer, masks, face shields, plastic bags for food distribution, and more. So these are just a few things that I wanted to highlight to you that I know you would find very interesting around the work we have done during this unusual time.
No poem?
Did you enjoy your poem?
We did.
Yes.
I did. I did immensely. And
That's for you all.
let me add, we're going to miss you. We're going to miss the rhymes, and hopefully that Mary will step in with some rhymes of her own. And we wish you the best of luck, Dr. Stevens. You're going into your new role as the second best superintendent in the state. And we know with your potential, you will one day become the best superintendent.
Wow.
Well,
so, thank you. Thank you very much. And I'll say, Mary not only can rhyme, she can sing and dance and on and on. So she's great.
Thank you for the service, your service to the Franklin Special School District. Everything you've done has been greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure, honestly.
Thanks, Katrina. I just did want to say one thing. I appreciate all the time and effort you put into making Zoom work for you. I know here at the city, we didn't have a lot of precautions at first. We've been bombed, things can happen. By putting all those controls in, putting people in the waiting room, all of that changes it to where it's a phenomenal tool. But we had to learn through problems. So I applaud with your efforts to make sure that you tighten it up so it can be that useful teaching tool that we need.
Thank you so much. It was a team effort for sure. Thank you.
Any other comments on teaching and learning?
I feel like we're going to be prepared if we have to go through this time next year. We already have the best practices in place, and we're very grateful for that. And I'm looking forward to seeing Dr. Stevens when she comes on some of our trips so that we can share best practices together.
Me too, absolutely.
We're going to miss you. Thank you for everything you've done. I'll miss your woohoos.
Whoop, whoop.
All right, very good. Thank you. Construction report, Dr. Esslinger.
Well, good evening, everyone. As we have a habit of providing you a construction report each month in your packet, it gives you a pretty good explanation of where we are with each major construction project that we have going on in the district right now, with timelines included, the ever-changing timelines that are included, and I'll be glad to entertain any questions you might have about this report.
Questions? Okay, the kitchen improvement report.
Also included in your packet is a detailed presentation by our Director of Child Nutrition, Robin Cross, and it provides an update on the kitchen and serving line upgrades that have been made, as well as some upgrades that are planned for this summer. These upgrades have been a huge morale booster for our cafeteria staff. As I walk through kitchens, they are very excited about the efficiency that has been approved, and the work, the overall effectiveness of the work because of the equipment that they have at their disposal to use every day. And they are very thankful. So we are very thankful that the board saw fit to allocate funds and invest funds in our kitchens. We're not finished yet. We still have about $257,000 left in the allocation to over the next year to 2 years to finish up that allocation that you've invested in our kitchens. But as you can tell, there's been a lot accomplished. Kitchens have come a long way in the past 1.5 to 2 years, and we are very thankful for that investment.
Any questions for Dr. Esslinger on that?
Not a question, just another comment that as far as the kitchens are concerned, I'm not sure if you were on board in this position, David, when last year the ladies Dottie was stopping me every time I went into Liberty, talked to me about the kitchens, and a lot of us took tours. And now that things have been changing, oh my gosh, they act like I personally put that stuff in there. They are very satisfied and very excited about the new equipment. So I just wanted to echo what you just said. That, yeah, they're very excited about that.
And thank you for the report. I really appreciated all the pictures and the details from each school. That gives me a lot more insight into what we've actually gotten accomplished. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that report was very well done, and it gives you a lot of hope that we're in the right direction with what we set out to do as far as getting all the kitchens on par with each other. And I think we're making great strides. So thanks to Robin and everybody in the board for taking on that and like I said, just making great strides to get there.
Okay. No other comments? Let's move on to approval of the board agenda. Dr. Snowden, any additions, corrections?
No changes.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Robert, and a second by Ms. Bell. Let's go through the board very quickly and vote tonight by roll call again. I vote yes. Mr. Townsell?
Yes.
Ms. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Blair, Dr. Barker?
Yes.
Ms. Bell?
Yes.
And Ms. Newman?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Approval of the consent agenda, 4 items. Minutes of last month's board meeting, the ELA certificate of adoption, budget amendments, and the FMS bleachers being declared surplus. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second. All in favor, Ms. Bell,
Yes.
Dr. Barker,
Yes.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Ms. Newman,
Yes.
Mr. Townsell,
Yes.
and myself as a yes. Unanimous. Thank you very much. Business before the board. 2 items, Dr. Snowden.
Yes. First item is recommendation of reduction in force positions. We are making the recommendation to eliminate 3 current positions for the upcoming 2020-2021 school year. We've had an elementary Spanish program at Liberty for several years. It began as a pilot program, but the challenge has been trying to expand it over the years, and this is primarily due to a lack of qualified teachers. The class has been included in the related arts rotation, and includes 30 minutes of Spanish every 7 days, which is not a lot of instruction, but it was something. When Spanish was implemented, it took the place of computer class, which is now taught during our Tier 1 instruction, which the principal, Ms. Patton, and others in teaching and learning do not believe is the best use of time for students. So we recommend that both the teaching position and the paraprofessional position be eliminated. The other position that we're recommending for elimination is a physical education position at Poplar Grove Elementary. Just as a reminder, Franklin Elementary, Johnson Elementary, and Poplar Grove Elementary have approximately the same number of students enrolled. FES and JES currently operate with 2 physical education teachers with approximately the same student enrollment. Both Liberty and Moore have larger student enrollments and justify 3 physical education teachers at each of those sites. The physical education teacher whose position is being eliminated has been placed in a teaching position at Poplar Grove Middle School. The person will also have an opportunity, if they choose, to return to a physical education position when one becomes available in the future. We recommend the elimination of those 3 positions, and we'll answer any questions.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
I motion to approve.
Okay.
I mean, for
Dr.
discussion.
Parker, and a second.
A second.
Mr. Blair, discussion. Okay, no discussion. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? I'm an aye. Ms. Bell,
Aye.
Dr. Barker,
Aye.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Ms. Newman,
Yes.
and Mr. Townsend.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. Dr. Snowden.
Item number 2 is a resolution, emergency suspension of board policies due to COVID-19. Due to the governor signing Public Chapter 652 and allowing the state board to address issues created by the COVID-19 crisis for the remainder of the school year, several current FSSD board policies are now temporarily conflicting with state laws and rules. To remedy this, the administration recommends adopting the resolution that was presented in your packet to accomplish the following for the remainder of the school year. And this expires after the year ends. Policy 4.600, that's the grading system. Students taking courses for high school credit shall receive no grade lower than the grade they earned in the course as of March 20th, 2020. Policy 4.700, the testing program. We will not be administering any TCAP exams for the spring 2020 semester. I guess it'd be difficult since we're not in school. Policy 5.109, evaluation. The level of overall effectiveness scores shall not be generated for educators in the 2019-2020 school year. Pre-K and kindergarten teachers shall not be evaluated using the growth portfolio model for the current school year. Any observations that were required by the State Board of Education Policy 5.201 that were not completed during the 1920 school year as a result of COVID-19 are not required. No student data from this year shall be allowed to negatively impact the teacher. Policy 5.802, qualifications and duties of the Director of Schools. Director of Schools may request an extension from the State Board of Ed to report information that would impact educator licensure, alleged employee misconduct, discipline of employees for actions that violate teacher code of ethics, etc. Policy 6.200, attendance. Students may not be penalized for non-attendance of online courses. Excuse me, non-attendance of online courses shall not count as unexcused absences and shall not be recorded. And furthermore, students shall not be counted truant for failure to attend any online sessions. In addition, the administration will consult with the board on any other policies or revisions of policies not contained in this resolution that may be in conflict, as well as apply for any waiver or extension that ensures consistency with this resolution, board policies, and Public Chapter 652, or the State Board of Education policies or rules and regulations implemented to effectuate Public Chapter 652. We recommend approval.
Thank you, Dr. Snowden. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Thank you very much. Discussion?
I was just curious if this was TSBA, did they kind of review policies and recommend these are the ones that we address? Because we have so many. I'm not sure how we would look at them all.
Yes, TSBA made this recommendation. They developed the resolution. So that's a good thing about the school districts that have this partnership with TSBA is they have at least 2, maybe 3 lawyers now on staff and they have the time and the opportunity to review those policies and determine which ones we would apply to our school district.
Okay, thanks.
Any other discussion, questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second on this resolution. All in favor? I vote aye. Ms. Bell?
Aye.
Dr. Barker?
Aye.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Townsend?
Aye.
And Ms. Newman?
Yes.
Okay, unanimous. Thank you very much. Director of Schools report.
Yes, before I do a formal report from the director of schools, I would like to take this opportunity to just offer my words of gratitude to Dr. Stevens. You know, we would all like to be doing this in person at a board meeting and really acknowledging her work in this district, but we'll just have to do it through Zoom. She has been a tremendous asset to this school district. We've walked step by step into a lot of different elements, but we knew she was ready to tackle this new challenge in Tullahoma. And Tullahoma is going to be blessed beyond what their thoughts are at this point. But she's been a tremendous asset, as I said, and Dr. Stevens, you will be missed. Even your whoop whoops and your songs and lots of other things about Dr. Stevens but you know, and I've told this story, probably many of you have heard it, but the day that Ms. Ladner and I were interviewing for this, and as soon as Dr. Stevens started to speak, it was like E.F. Hutton. I was paying very close attention to every response she had to every question we answered. And I know that's what happened. I didn't see all the interview, but I saw parts of the interview in Tullahoma, and it was exactly the same. When she started to speak, they were listening. So Dr. Stevens, we congratulate you and we wish you well in this new next endeavor.
Thank you very much. And I am so excited to continue my journey with you, Dr. Snowden. So poems forthcoming, songs forthcoming.
I'm anxious to hear what you come up with to rhyme with Tullahoma.
In a few minutes, I'll get there.
I tried to come up with one, aroma and melanoma, and that's about it.
She thinks that I'm going to be her mentor, but after May 21st, she's on her own. I'm just kidding.
Do I think you're going to be my mentor? You don't have a choice. You know, I have your phone number, your email. I know where you live.
You're right. And I do want to, after we've certainly congratulated and thank Dr. Stevens, I want to officially welcome Dr. Decker. She has been transitioning. She and Dr. Stevens have been on Zoom conversations every day for at least probably an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe even longer. Dr. Stevens will tell you that her opportunity to transition with Ms. Ladner was very short, and she felt overwhelmed. So we think that this is an opportunity for Dr. Decker to go alongside and be alongside Dr. Stevens over these last few days and these next few days to continue to be just in lockstep once Dr. Stevens takes off to Tullahoma and Dr. Decker takes over. So we're excited for Dr. Stevens, but we're also excited to work with Dr. Decker as well.
Whoop, whoop.
Okay, Director of Schools report, FSSD Top 40 Certified Employees of the Year. We had all hoped to have an opportunity to recognize our top 40 volunteers and our Certified Employees of the Year. sooner rather than later. But at this point, we're going to hopefully be able to recognize them at our August meeting as we are approaching the summer months. These recognitions are very important, and we have all the plaques and the other opportunities to thank our volunteers and our employees of the year. So we're going to try to schedule a reception prior to that meeting if we're able to meet in person. So we'll keep you apprised as we go further into trying to schedule these events. Our district retirement reception, we would like to celebrate this when the public can get back together. At this point, we're not scheduling a date, but we're hopeful that we'll be able to have this prior to the new school year. Dr. Decker had an idea, which we will certainly entertain if we're not able to have a retirement program as such, is recognize our retirees when we start the new year, when we have our gathering, our opening day celebration. That's a possibility, but we're still exploring different options. We're still optimistic that at some point we'll be able to have our retirement celebration like we've had in years past. Moving into the budget process, proposed dates for that budget work scheduled for next week, May 18th, May 28th, and June the 15th. You know the different areas that we discuss at each budget work session. What I'd like to ask now is to get your thoughts on whether or not this first one, especially next week on May 18th, do you want to try a Zoom budget work session, or do you want to try to do a meeting in public for that work session? Thoughts?
I'm comfortable with either, as long as we had I know if we did it in person, we'd find a space in which we could really physically distance ourselves. So I'm fine with either one.
I'm fine doing it either way too. I mean, I prefer in person if we have a big enough space where we can sit 6 feet apart. I mean, I've been going to work every day, so it's not a big deal for me to be out, but I'm open to it. I just prefer in person if we can, but if we can't, we can do it like this. It's just harder to ask questions, I think, this way, but I'm okay if we are able to be in a big room.
If we're in person, would there be what would be the guidance on masks?
Well, I mean, we had all of our 12-month employees, report back today, and we gave them the option of mask. At our work session, we could do whatever the board would feel more comfortable. If they would want everybody to wear a mask. And I'm thinking of a scaled down version of a work session. Instead of having every member of leadership team, every principal, I don't really think it's necessary for all those individuals. I think basically the people that are on this call, we could invite the press, and I think still have room to provide social distancing. Mm-hmm. But I don't really see the necessity of having the normal people that attend the work sessions.
The FSSDEA, at which work session do they usually present? I want to make sure their voice is heard.
Yeah, I believe that they're usually, David, you can help me. I know this is your first budget work session, but we've already received their proposal. Okay. And I think it's usually at the second work session, because the first work session is primarily dealing with the operational budgets of both teaching and learning and finance and administration. So normally it's the second work session.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. They're on the second table of contents, second agenda.
Okay. Although I'm good with either format for a meeting, I would prefer, as others have expressed, an in-person, because setting a budget is one of the two most important things we do every year. And we haven't seen each other in outside of Zoom for that long. And I think When we're all together, we ask questions and drill down on some of the things behind the numbers. So I think an in-meeting, if we can do it safely, would be good. So perhaps find a spot where we can physically distance and have masks available. Should those, whoever would like to use one, may use one. Does that sound good to the board?
That sounds
Any
great. And we
objection?
received our packet today, so thank you very much for that. I'll look forward to delving into that.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
So it's my understanding that, and I'm certainly not playing nurse or doctor, but it's my understanding that masks are primarily to help the individual wearing the mask from projecting anything that would infect anyone. So with that said, there think that needs to be something that's mandatory for everyone at that budget work session. I mean, I'm comfortable without, but I don't want any board member to feel uncomfortable that people are there without and are not wearing a mask, because this is extremely important that we, of course, social distance, but also do everything we can to not infect anyone if somebody happens to be asymptomatic.
I'd say this, that the comfort level tends to go higher when you tell people they have to wear masks as they transition from outside to inside and get in their seat. Once they're in their seat and physically distant from the other people, then the mask doesn't really is unnecessary. So I think if we could have some sort of a guideline or mandatory whatever that says you should have the mask on until you're seated and you're physically distant from other people, I would think people would have good, I think people would feel comfortable with that. Here's the only thing I just thought of is that if we have this meeting and we are in this one room, albeit a huge room, and then somebody later tested positive, the thought would be that maybe a lot of us would have to self-quarantine. So that might not be preferable. So now that I think about it, maybe it wouldn't be, and here's the other part of that. Once we start this in-person meeting, it'd be tough to roll it back and the following meeting say we're gonna go to Zoom. So even though I would love to see all of you, and I think we could do it safely, it might be the prudent thing that we're not all together. So one person gets sick, we're all shut down. And then I hate for us to do it and want to go back to Zoom meeting the next meeting. So I'm sorry, I'm gonna do an about face there and suggest, now I'll do it whatever the group decides.
Well, the third option is we can have Zoom available if you wanted to join by Zoom.
Yeah.
And I think it would be wise to have some do Zoom and some in person. I do think you also make a statement to your community and your constituents as if everyone was there and unmasked. It just makes a statement to the community. And I'd prefer to make a more conservative statement, whether that be half and half. Just something to think about.
I like what you said there, because you're right. It is a statement. So now I got to think through the statement. I would want to, it's almost as if those who were on Zoom were the more cautious ones, and those who weren't on Zoom and were live were less cautious. So then it makes those who show up lesser than the whole of us. So now I'm getting conflicted. I think if people show up and they're in a room and we're being recorded without masks, it's like the rest of us who stay on Zoom are better than, or smarter than, or more cautious. And I wouldn't like that to be the case.
Let me say this also. I have not seen this in writing, but on a conference call, it's my understanding that the governor has extended that order about meetings, public meetings, to the end of June. I don't know if anybody else has heard that.
That's true.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not seeing in writing. So I do think that that if we go to an in-person meeting and then want to change back, I think that doesn't send a positive signal either. I do think that if there is such a thing as an easy budget work session, and I'm not trying to imply that this budget is there's not going to be anything easy about it. But as you recall, the operational budgets for both teaching and learning and finance and administration are very straightforward. So if we could do this, I think a Zoom meeting could be very efficient and effective in this first budget work session, and maybe in subsequent work sessions. But I do believe this one would provide an opportunity to ask questions, obviously. But I do think it would be more conducive for a Zoom meeting if we're going to do it through Zoom and put off an in-person meeting for a little longer. We don't have to make a decision about subsequent budget work sessions at this time. So with that said, I'm kind of leaning toward having a Zoom budget meeting. I'm open to in-person, whatever the board would like.
Okay. Any other comments?
I mean, I guess my only thought is I don't really think we would not consider people who Zoomed doing it better than people who showed up. I mean, honestly, everybody has their own opinions. People are in Publix with masks, without masks. People are at my workplace, half our patients wear masks, half don't. I don't think we need to worry about sending a message that way. I think if we did it safely, I'm not saying we need to meet, but I don't know if I agree with you, Kevin, that it would send a message that some people are doing it better than others. I think no one can ever prove anything about where they would ever catch the virus if they caught it. You can get it going to Publix or walking around your neighborhood or talking to a neighbor, especially if so I don't think we need to worry about that. I think that if we feel like the first session is easy to do over Zoom, then we could. I think if we're allowed to meet at some point, and we can meet and wear masks if we wanted to, stay 6 feet apart, those are the CDC guidelines. We could do that if we felt like we needed to at some point. I mean, we do have our employees back in the building. Our 12-month employees are back at work. So we are having people back in the building. So I don't care either way. I think if this first session is easy and we don't want to start too soon, I'm fine with that. But I don't think we need to worry about, personally, I don't think we need to worry about people being concerned about who's doing what if we are following the guidelines.
Well, I'll say this, is that I would prefer now to do the Zoom meeting. And not that I'm judging people, I'm just telling you, following what happens on social media, people are judging. And I'm not saying we need to govern ourselves based on those people judging, but trust me when I say people are actively making judgments based on those people who are walking around wearing masks and those who are walking around not wearing masks. Is it right? No. Should we govern ourselves because of that? No.
No.
But I'm seeing the data. It's happening. And I just don't want that to look poorly on any of you all who showed up without masks. That's my suggestion. But I'll follow the will of the group.
Why don't we just do it by Zoom?
Dr. Barker, you have a preference, and Ms. Bell, after we've had this discussion?
I prefer the first one to be by Zoom. And I do feel as we move on, if we're wearing masks and following the CDC guidelines, I'd feel a little better with that. I just, and I've been going to work. It's not that, it's just, as Kevin said, I do feel it sends a message, and I'd want to be responsible, especially following guidelines issued by the CDC and trying to do all meetings that are possible via Zoom, do them that way as recommended by the government. But, and I do understand the benefits of in-person budget meetings, but at least the first one, I agree with Zoom.
I was just going to say, I am comfortable with Zoom. I look forward to when we can have meetings face-to-face. I'm comfortable knowing that if I have any questions, I know how to get those questions answered. So I think that's most important. And I know that probably when we get back together, and even for the food portion, we'll be very cautious with, something boxed, just again, exercising cautiousness with that. We are a very conservative board, and we are a strong fiduciary board by way of rule following. And so I'm comfortable if the will of our board is to have Zoom. And but I do want to put on record that I do look forward to making sure I follow CDC guidelines when we can get back together. And I will give virtual hugs anytime.
Okay. So Dr. Snow, I think you have the consensus of board, Zoom.
Okay, we'll plan on that. We do appreciate Dr. Esslinger getting the budget information out to you today, both electronically and a hard copy. Hopefully over the next few days or week, you'll have an opportunity to review that prior to our meeting next Monday. FSSD Nutrition Department feeding recently recognized with a Community Hero Award. We already knew that our true hero, that cafeteria folks, our child nutrition folks, were true heroes for the impact that they've had during this time. Very proud of the department, and also the transportation personnel who have been heavily involved in this opportunity, and we're humbled by their service that they provided to our community since our closing in March. We have some remarkable personnel, and we appreciate their commitment to provide the needed nutrition for not only our students, but students across the community. We also like to congratulate Ms. Cross for her leadership in these efforts for our student feeding. We did reopen MAC and WeMAC this morning at 6 o'clock. We were anticipating, or we were prepared to have up to 60 in MAC and up to 25 in WeMAC. Today's attendance, we had 22 in MAC and 18 in WeMAC. So that's a start. We do anticipate those numbers will grow. But we certainly appreciate the work of Amanda Parks and Amy Fisher for coming up with the protocols for not only our employees, but the students, parents. We wanted to begin this process, or begin the opportunity for parents to utilize the MAC and WeMAC program, but we wanted to do it with the utmost regard for safety. And we think we're at that point. And we had some very thankful parents today when they dropped their students off, their children off at the annex. And finally, we had the last packet pickup, the return of May 1st, and we will have, the schools have scheduled the return of Chromebooks, textbooks, materials, and report at the end of this school year. Also, the students will be able to pick up, or parents will be able to pick up all students' belongings. Teachers have been working to pack up those student belongings, and so it'll be easier. Their names will be on those bags when come pick it up. So we anticipate a very smooth process for the end of the school year. If you've not heard, Freedom Middle School is having a parade this Saturday for their 8th grade celebration. We'll send you some more information about that if you want to attend. They'll be practicing social distancing, and students and parents will be in their cars, while teachers, staff members, and others will be holding signs and just having a good time recognizing our 8th graders from Freedom Middle as they go off to their high school venture next year. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fogue. Updates, teaching and learning.
Yes, so 83% of our rising kindergarten through 8th graders have registered. 83% represents 2,717 students. That leaves 559 students, or 17%, that have not yet started the process. We continue to advertise and encourage and hope that remaining percentage will register by the close of this school year, May 22nd. And then Mr. Stillings, this last one is for you. There's a wonderful place to learn and earn a high school diploma. And that is a fabulous city known as none other than
Don't ever challenge her, Mr. Sterling.
Well played. Well played. Well played. All right, finance. David, you're on mute.
How about now?
Gotcha.
Sorry about that. I got to click onto the other screen. You have your monthly financial report, your HR reports in your packet. Monthly sales tax collections reflected a 5.7% increase over the same time period last year. But keep in mind, May's collections reflect the taxes collected from February sales, which was prior to the shutdown. We are expecting June and July's collections to be significantly below those from the previous year. Also, I was recently asked about the ADA adjustment that's reflected on this schedule, and I thought I'd just share a little bit about a little background around that. March of each year, the State Department sends us an updated breakdown of the numbers of students in our county served by Williamson County Schools as compared to the number served by the Franklin Special School District. That number is called the weighted full-time equivalent, and it is based on the average daily attendance. This percentage is the basis for the distribution of Williamson County property taxes and the distribution of our sales tax collected in the county. Our latest notification from the state indicated that Franklin Special School District continues to serve a smaller percentage of Williamson County students, from 7.63% down to 7.523%. The April sales tax collections is where we sort of settle up for the current year based on the actual attendance data for the year. And moving forward, we will use this March 2020 weighted full-time equivalent to estimate our revenues for the coming year. So I hope that maybe answered some questions that you may have had about that. I didn't get into the weeds with it last month, but it is an annual adjustment for April of each year.
Okay, questions?
I had a quick question. On that sheet that you sent us, David, you had at the very bottom that we've received 86% of our budget year to date. Is that typically how much we've received year to date, or are we ahead? Because we know the next 2 months are going to be low.
Year to date, we're a little ahead.
Okay.
So yes, but as you said, the next 2 months are going to be low. And we have calculated that, and I will address that in our first budget work session, where we think we're going to fall. But, estimating sales tax collections for June and July.
Are you okay, Lena?
Yes. It's on my daughter's music stand.
But estimating collections for June and July is going to be rather difficult, just because it's a guesstimate. So we have, we've taken a shot in the dark at it, and I'll give you some more information around that at the budget work session.
Have we collected a full year of the increased sales tax, the local option?
Repeat your question, Mr. Stillings.
The local option sales tax. When are we comparing the newly collected amounts versus the old percentages and the old splits, or have we collected a full year where it's now a apples to apples comparison?
It's an apples to apples with each year's percentages, because if you look at the schedule, last year was based on a different percentage, and this year is based on the 7.63%. But beginning in April moving forward, it's based on 7.523%. So April's the line in the sand for changing of the percentages.
Okay, gotcha. I understand. Any other questions?
And have we made any headway on that money that we thought we were going to get way back when we did the sales tax increase and part of it was supposed to go to schools? And then remember that conversation? Has that ever been resolved?
No, it has not been resolved. It's been kind of placed on hold at this point. I guess that's all I'll say at this juncture. Thank you.
Okay, any other announcements for the good of the FSSD? Dr. Decker, welcome. Good to have you with us in your new role. And we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks.